Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So it would appear that Reform UK are having to seriously address their Tory habit. They try to claim that they aren't just a rebranded Tory party and yet have hived almost all of their votes from the Conservatives, and when it comes to it, most of their politicians as well. There have been a couple of Labour defections to Reform UK at the council level, but the vast majority of their experienced politicians are former Conservatives. They've also had medium profile defections, Andrea Jenkins, Lee Anderson, Jake Berry. So it would seem that some in the party think that they need to go a bit easy on the defections now in order to avoid making it too obvious that they're just another Tory party. But if they're still in the market for a big signing, there's a suggestion that maybe they'd prefer Jacob Rees-Mogg to Suella Braverman these days. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So, interesting article in The Guardian today about Reform UK wrestling with the idea of Tory defections. Some of the people mentioned in the article insist they are not the Tory Party 2.0. But of course they absolutely are. Like, their policies differ only in how extreme they are. But you can say the same thing about just different leaders. If you change the leader of the Conservative Party or the leader of the Labour Party, most of the policies are largely the same. It's just which ones get the shoulder push behind them. What is the actual difference in policy between Reform UK and the Conservative Party? Reform UK have said they would raise the income tax personal allowance. Yeah, Conservatives aren't in favour of that. And they say they're in favour of nationalising water and gas. But as they have never actually presented any plan for doing any of those things, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that Nigel Farage is just saying things to get votes. In debates, if I were to clip statements from Tory MPs and Reform UK MPs, you'd be hard pressed to say which was which. But Reform UK cannot look like just a different Tory party. Indeed, it's Labour votes that they're after now. They've already taken so many from the Conservatives. They're probably getting diminishing returns on them now. Labour votes are very much the Wild West of politics this Parliament, with the proposed new Corbyn party looking hungry at them as well. And if you think the last election was fragmented, I wait until the chaos of the next one if we do nothing to address the problems of our voting system. But the point is that Reform UK need to put some serious effort into attracting Labour votes if they want to grow. Their own strategists will be aware that the political landscape will be more challenging for them over the next couple of years than it is now. So far, Reform UK have traded on the idea of both the Tories and Labour failing to manage the basics. But in 2 years' time, Labour's new workers' rights will all be implemented and powering up. There'll be 1,000 best start centres serving local communities. The NHS will be doing better. Transport will be improving. If Labour are going to meet their housing aims, then we should be seeing the results by then. And a couple more years of real terms income growth should start to improve the outlook for a lot of people as well. So Reform UK need to avoid looking like another Tory party, but it seems they could still be in the market for one big Tory signing. Suella Braverman would have been the obvious one, but she's been holding off. The article suggests it's because of a genuine fondness for her current party. I had already stated my more cynical view last year that I wouldn't imagine she wants to defect only to fade into irrelevance. If Reform UK cannot keep her in Parliament, why would she defect? So maybe she was waiting another year or two to see if Farage and Yousaf were serious about building into a major political force. But a bit of a wedge seems to have developed between Braverman and Reform UK. First of all, her husband, Raoul Braverman, who had earlier defected to Reform UK, quit the party after Zia Yousaf shared anti-Semitic material on social media. Yousaf seems to be blaming his staff for it, but Mr. Braverman, who is Jewish, clearly didn't buy it and quit the party. And Reform UK have also been attacking Suella Braverman herself over her role in the scandal of last week concerning the super injunction over the Afghan data leak. Mind you, interesting that the far right are arguing that the injunction should never have existed when it would have not just been Afghan lives at risk, which they don't care about, but even members of, for example, the SAS. Or maybe they didn't realise that they were saying it's fine for the Taliban to have information with which to murder elite members of the British Army. So maybe they're not so keen on Suella Braverman joining them now. Perhaps there's a suggestion she's hesitating too much. And as the article suggests, there is wariness now about Reform UK looking too much like a Tory retirement home. But the article also suggests that Zia Yousaf has been talking appreciatively about Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, Rees-Mogg and Farage seem to get on very well with each other. They're colleagues on GB News. There's not a lot of difference between the two on many issues. Although I've always felt that Rees-Mogg probably was genuinely a loyal Conservative Party member, I'm not sure I see him defecting. You know, for all his many faults, Rees-Mogg does occur to me as someone who has at least a few aspects of integrity. But Yusuf had described him as, I quote, high intelligence, highly educated, high integrity person. Now, I think Mr. Yusuf might need a dictionary. He seems to struggle with basic words. Rees-Mogg is none of those things, although I say he has got some aspects to his character which you would regard as moral fibre, integrity. He deliberately lied during the Brexit campaign. He admitted going along with the plan to literally rig the elections in favour of the Conservatives via voter ID. He called for a second referendum on the EU before the first one took place, but then blocked attempts to hold a second, with his reason being that he wouldn't get the result he wanted. I mean, okay, you can say that's at least honest, but honesty isn't always integrity, is it? If you're knowingly screwing over an entire country, your own country at that. And he cannot claim to believe that Brexit would be good for the country, because he was caught telling people that because of Brexit, he was moving a load of his money out of the UK to the EU. But you might at least say he is highly educated, went to the poshest school money can buy. Yet education implies learning, and Rees-Mogg seems to have done precious little of it. When Suella Braverman says that, when she's been attacked, and she says, well, I was against the Afghan skin, I was against it all, but I couldn't speak out because of the super injunction. Rees-Mogg suggested, well, no, ministers could have spoken out in Parliament. Now, he's presumably referring to parliamentary privilege, which allows MPs to raise things in Parliament immune from being sued. The idea is that you cannot have someone wealthy sue an MP if they want to raise an issue, right? It doesn't immune you to the law. MPs are still not allowed to commit contempt of court offences. And a super injunction is pretty serious. There is no way anyone would not have been prosecuted, including a minister, had they breached it in Parliament. So Rees-Mogg doesn't even understand something as simple as parliamentary privilege after being an MP for years. But Yusuf is clearly keen on attracting Rees-Mogg to their side. The seat he lost last year could well see a by-election, and maybe Reform UK think, well, we'll offer Moggy the chance to return to Parliament under our wing. Although I would question how Reform UK, they're led by a man who is openly a huge fan of Margaret Thatcher. It's very difficult. I really don't get how they can say they're not Tories 2.0 when Nigel Farage thinks that Margaret Thatcher was like the perfect Prime Minister, and whose ranks are already swelled with Tory defectors. Why would they want to attract literally the most Tory of Tories to their side? If you asked AI to draw a caricature of a Tory, it would be Jacob Rees-Mogg. I already find it incredible that ordinary people can think that Reform UK are the party of the people when their entire top team are people who are not only incredibly wealthy, but were born into that wealth. But sticking Rees-Mogg in there would certainly be a bold experiment in seeing just how much you can persuade voters to ignore reality. But the thrust of the article seems to be Reform UK they may be deciding that they neither need nor want many more Tory defections. They think they've got high quality candidates from outside politics. Now, in isolated cases, maybe they are right. But you do need experienced politicians as well. Like we've seen just how badly Reform UK have floundered in their recent takeovers of councils, not just because of their childish policies, but because they fundamentally don't know how to get things done. I spent the last few years complaining that we seem to have a real shortage of political aptitude at the top of politics. Conservative Party, Labour Party. Too many people thinking they've got this new way of doing things, but without any robust research behind it. Like that idiot on US MasterChef who put peppers in ravioli, then cried when he was told it's not innovative, it's just shit. I mean, you look at the way Reform UK are unable to get anything done at the council level, other than, of course, slashing public service budgets in order to spend the money on whack high salaries for their mates to be their assistants. Imagine them in charge of the country. No idea what to do or how to do it. Their only source of expert advice could possibly come from the Conservative Party. But they don't want to do it because that would make it just too obvious they're Tories. And it maybe some genuinely don't realise that they're just Tories. And if, as the election comes closer and votes get squeezed, some in Reform UK suspect the Tory defections of influencing policies, like Blue Labour in the current government, might that create a schism between those who know they're just rebranded Tories and those who insist they're not Tories 2.0? although I would ask that second group, what policies do you think you have that are different? And there will absolutely be some battles ahead for them. They're a protest party who are starting to realise that actually they could win power. They didn't start out like that. They started out as a protest, just like UKIP. Reform UK is basically UKIP. UKIP, the idea of it, it wasn't to get power. It was to force the Conservatives to do what they wanted. They were political vandals. Reform UK, in the post-Brexit era, was supposed to be the same thing, but Farage had a cunning plan. Instead of having a proper political party, because the infighting in UKIP was immense, he said, well, I'll just control it all. I'll just own the party, right? So that's his plan, but it still serves the same purpose. It was there to force the Conservatives into following their policies, which it's worked to do, only they're now in a better position to form a government. So they're in that phase now where they're having to transition from a protest party to one that could win power. That is bound to introduce conflicts of interest between various groups within the party. After all, protest is easy. You can be all things to all people. Preparing for power means having to make decisions, and decisions are always unpopular with those who wanted the opposite decision. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.